Certainly. I do employment defense. That means I'm a management side lawyer. I represent companies. I train them on how to comply with the various employment laws because it's a whole complex area, and it's really a very difficult thing to circumnavigate. And every once in a while, a new law comes out that really applies to everyone, and most people are unaware of it. For example, there's an expectation, I think, in the general public that anyone can find out someone's criminal background. And so when you're an employer and you know, there have been cases litigated about wrongful hiring, on negligent hiring. Well, unfortunately, with those kinds of cases, the employers were often restricted. They cannot gain that information. The Criminal Offender Records Act limited the type of information that you could get. You can only get criminal background information if you were a law enforcement agency, if you worked with a vulnerable population. For example, if you worked with children and with the elderly, or in financial services.
I don't mean this facetiously. I'm not considered a vulnerable target. Or mark. I consider myself vulnerable, but we're not considered that way.
No.
It's too bad.
It was extremely limited. And the reason for that was that the thought process was that people who had paid their debt to society, who had actually done their time or had not been actually convicted or had done probation, deserved a chance at rehabilitation. So that criminal information was extremely limited. And not only was it extremely limited, if you were even in one of those subgroups, you were only certain designated people were allowed access to that information. Well, in the past year, that's changed somewhat. And the reasons why it's changed is that people have been using background companies to do background checks. And unfortunately, not all of those were compliant with the law. So if they were your agent and they breached the law, you were still responsible. You still could be held responsible. So there's been changes to the law, massive change to the law within the past year. And the most important change that happened and has been in effect already for a year is the change that happens on employment applications. On employment applications, I'm sure everyone here has filled out an employment application, and you filled out a little sign that said, checked off little box that said, I haven't been convicted of felony or misdemeanor within the past 5 years. Well, a year ago, just about a year ago, that was stricken from the law. You cannot put that on an employment application whatsoever in Massachusetts. You cannot make any inquiry at all about someone's criminal history. Arrest, conviction, nothing.
Do you agree with that?
Well, it's...
Mixed feelings.
I have very mixed feelings because I represent employers and I understand, especially small employers and mid-sized employers. It's a very difficult thing, and that's the kind of information you want to know, I think.